Welcome to the Building PA Podcast, the voice of the construction industry throughout Pennsylvania. Here are your co-hosts, Chris Martin and John O'Brien.
Hello and welcome to the Building PA Podcast. I am co-host John O'Brien, coming to you from central Pennsylvania, joined as always by construction industry's power forward, Chris Martin, number 44. What's up, Chris?
That is an intro, John, you have never given me, and it threw me off, I'll be honest, I'm not going to lie. But hey, everyone, for the record, the number was 40, but not 44, but you were close. You were close.
Okay, all right.
But, right now the 40 has to cover over the belly. But hi, everyone, this is Chris Martin, trying to get away from that topic as quick as I can. I am with Atlas Marketing, and you can see more of our stories at atlasstories.com. And God, you really did throw me off with that intro, John. That was good. I like that. That might be a new trend, right?
I've gotten you a few times. I feel like I got
you have. Yeah, you have the advantage too. So, but hey, nobody came here to talk about us, right? Everybody wants to hear who we're talking to. So. Who we
Our
talking
comments
with, John?
are going to be minimal because they don't want to hear us. We're knuckleheads.
We're idiots, you know.
But we do have someone special. We got someone awesome. This is going to be a fantastic show. I'm super excited, super pumped. I know Chris is too. He's jumping out of his chair over there.
I am.
Number 40. Calm down, number 40. Kara McCaffrey is with us today. And Kara, for those that don't know, there might be 2 or 3 of you out there that don't know. But she is a construction industry rock star. She does so much for the industry. She's a past winner of the KCA Top Young Leader Award. She won that in 2024.
There's nothing better.
Absolutely, yeah. And KCA just felt it was very important to recognize you and honor you for all of your efforts in the mental health space. I mean, it's a topic that, as we know, it's been kind of beaten quite a bit, over the years, but it was a topic that was ignored for many, many years, many decades. And with leaders like you, it's making it okay to talk about. And not everyone's okay, and it's okay not to be okay. So it's just awesome what you do, and we're excited to have you. But for those 2 people that don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, John and Chris, for having me. This is already so much fun already. I'm laughing a lot. I know you all can't probably see my face, but this is a fun time. So thanks for having me. Thanks also to KCA for everything that you've partnered with me on with the KCA Top Young Leader Award. That was so kind for you guys to give that to me. And I'm sure there's way more than 2 people who don't know who I am. So for an introduction for who I am, hi, everyone. My name is Kara McCaffrey. I am part owner and chief wellness officer at my family specialty construction company based in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, called Houck Group. And I've been with Houck for around 2 years now. I actually left construction. I was in construction for a while, several years, and then I left construction to work in healthcare IT, which is nothing like construction, but I worked in healthcare software. And while I was there, I really found a passion professionally for working for suicide prevention. I led their suicide prevention work group at the software company and built tools into the system to better identify patients at risk for suicide, better treat them, better follow up. And so I had a chance to work clinically on suicide, which I never had done before. And then fast forward, I learned about the stats in construction and how much of an issue there is in construction. And so I decided to leave healthcare and move back into the construction industry, where I'm focused solely mainly on mental health and suicide prevention and all aspects of wellness and helping my family company. But something that I really want to do too is help the industry, help people, like you said, John, know that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to reach out for help if you need it. So I've really dedicated my career to focusing on that. I care so much about suicide because I lost my brother Gary 20 years ago to suicide. And so I really do this in his honor, and for others who have lost folks or who are struggling themselves, I really just want to be a voice to help guide that conversation and make it okay to reach out for. So I work at my family company, but I'm also connected with KCA on their mental health task force, and a huge fan of KCA and all they do around mental health and opioids and all that you do, John. I'm also the vice chair of Construction Suicide Prevention Week, which is a national initiative. I can share more about that later. And I'm working on the Pathway Committee for Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. I know KCA had one of these podcasts with Sonia, who's a friend of mine. So trying to help nationally and some of the industry groups that are working on this. And really, they've made a lot of progress, and I'm just happy to be a part of the movement.
Awesome. Awesome.
Woo.
So something
That's
tells
a little
me,
intro. Yeah.
It was amazing. You nailed it. You nailed it. So it was very, very cool. Something tells me Gary's looking down and is very proud of you, and this is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So
Thank you. Yeah, I know he is. I know he is.
Yeah. Now you left, like you said, the healthcare IT industry, and now you're in construction. And I feel, and you could speak better to this, construction kind of has this "we're in this together" type of attitude, and it seems like we help each other. I mean, looking at you, for example, you work for a construction company, but you help others through Construction Industry Alliance partnership, the Suicide Prevention Week. You have all these outside groups that connects you with other companies. And I personally, I love that. It seems like we always help each other in this industry.
Yeah.
I just wondered what your comments were.
Yeah, I think so. And I worked out in the field too for several years too to earn the respect of everyone. And I do think when you think about working on a job site, everyone does kind of pull together and support each other. I think people also are very strong and kind of power through and get the job done and work together. But one of the risk factors why suicide is such an issue in construction is that kind of powering through mentality. I think we've come a long way in the construction industry about talking about mental health. Like if I look back 15 years ago when I was in construction, I don't remember anyone talking about it 15 years ago. Fast forward to now, there are so many groups that are working on this and people are talking about it more. But I think we need to continue to support each other in this lens and supporting each other with their mental health too, not just on a project or on a job site. I think we have the capability, people have that, but it's just making sure that people are open more to talking about mental health and thinking of it more so it's tough to talk about. Like it's not tough to hold it in, it actually takes strength, and it's tough if you do talk about it and share it with people and can support one another.
Nice.
I was on a conversation, or I was in a conversation just earlier this week, and the topic was around so many different things with mental health and wellness and
Yeah.
even the physical aspect of it. But it was
all
interesting
connected.
because, yeah, the interesting thing in that conversation was we talked about, there was this phase from like 2020 to about maybe this year, sometime this year, of this awareness phase. And now we're going into we've done that really well as an industry. I mean, I don't know how many past episodes on the podcast, on the Building PA podcast, that we have where we talk about this, but now we're into this whole different phase of, okay, now it's time to start building up solutions.
Yeah, do something.
Right. It's, we've talked about it. Now it's time to actually put, that effort in place. With all the associations and the groups that you're involved with and what you're doing at Houck, what is that next step? Like, what are some things that are starting to see solutions, and how are people able to say, okay, now I understand this, but now I truly know what to do?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. And I think, awareness has been around. I still think there's probably some construction companies and construction workers that maybe don't have the awareness. I think KCA and the podcast like you all are doing like such great work in this. I don't know if like every single construction company in the country is quite there yet. So I'm always for still continuing to push for awareness, because there are probably people out there scattered that maybe don't have that. But you're spot on that like we need to move from awareness to action and figuring out what more we can do besides just talking about it. So that's a big question. I'll try to answer it, but there's a lot of thoughts that I have in my head around it. So some of the things that you can do, and I think for someone who's listening and is thinking, well, I can't have a chief wellness officer at my company, or I can't have someone dedicated to my company. Like, yeah, we know about it, but like, I don't have the people or the time or the resources to actually take action and do anything. I would urge you to look at all the national free resources that are already out there, because there is so much out there that you can use and take advantage of that you don't have to do yourself. So there's some simple things that you can do. Part of it, which is kind of bordering on awareness, but also getting into some more education and just training people more, is making sure that you're thinking about mental health when you think about traditional physical safety. Oftentimes, construction companies do toolbox talks, and KCA has a lot of free toolbox talks on their website that you can look at too. And we think about ladder safety or, fall prevention. There's different things that we think about physical safety wise. It's really easy and a quick win to just have some toolbox talks that are more focused on mental health safety and just mental health topic. So hey, what do you watch out for someone? What are some warning signs or risk factors that you should be aware of? Or, oh, here's a toolbox talk on our employee assistance program. Know more about it. Here's how you use it. Like, start educating people on how to get support that they need, how to watch out for one another, kind of coming back to John's point, like, people can, if they are trained on how to watch out for someone, to know what to watch out for, they could spot something in someone and then they could say, hey, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? Can I help you? Or just open up the conversation a little bit more. So I think toolbox talks and stand downs, things like that, trying to talk about and provide solutions and educate people is important and easy to do because there's a ton of free ones out there. You can do more with education. So it's not just toolbox talks, these 5 or 10 minute talks you can do. If you want to invest in it in your company, you could pay someone to come in and get trained. Some organizations will do it. Like I know KCA has done free mental health first aid training for their members. So you can find folks who will do it for free too. But there's so many other more education that gets deeper into, again, educating people on what to watch for and then how to talk to someone about it. How do you actually connect them to resources? There's mental health first aid, there's QPR, AFSP has a Talk Save Lives, which they recently did for a construction version. There is Living Works, which CIASP does. There's also Vital Cog training. I'm a big proponent and fan of Vital Cog training, which is suicide prevention in the workforce training, and they have a version specifically to construction. So I'm a certified Vital Cog trainer, and I've trained folks at Houck. I still have a lot more people I want to train, but I've trained around 50 people so far, and really it digs into why is construction having an issue with suicide? What do you watch out for in someone? And then how do you talk to them? How do you identify that? How do you start the conversation with someone, because that can be tough. You might be aware that something might be going on with someone or have some doubts, or your gut might be telling you, something's not right with this person, but you need to know how to talk to them about it and start the conversation.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt you there, Kara?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. How do you talk to somebody?
Yeah. So I think part of it depends if you know the person or not, So I think your relationship with them might dictate how you approach to someone. But some key tips to think about when you are concerned about someone is to be on the same level with them. Try to go somewhere private so you're not like in a group with everyone when you're trying to let them know that you're concerned about them. If they're sitting down, sit down. If they're standing up, stand up. Like, try to be in the same level with them. Try to let them know that you care about them. So you can just ask and say, I've noticed XYZ. So always try to say, like, I, use the I instead of you. Like, you're doing this, you're doing that. That places more blame and makes them more defensive. But you can say, hey, I've noticed that you haven't eaten lunch with the crew in a few weeks, and I'm worried about you. Like, how are you doing? So try to point out, like, I've noticed this behavior. Don't make it about the person, like it's a moral failing of the person. Just notice changes in behavior for someone and call that out and say, I'm concerned about you, or I care about you, I'm worried about you. And how are you doing? Like, how are you really doing? If you're really concerned that they could be thinking of suicide, it's always good to ask that directly, which can be tough, but you shouldn't try to kind of beat around it and not say it. You can just ask them, are you thinking of suicide? And you can ask that directly, because sometimes asking someone directly will make them more direct and more open with you. And I mean, this Vital Cog training goes through it in like an hour or two, but that's like a little bit of it. I think trying to say, I've noticed X behavior. I'm worried about you. I care about you. How are you doing? And then just trying to let them open up. And I think sometimes they're not going to open up right away, but you can leave the door open to say, hey, like, I'm here if you want to talk. I'm just worried about you, and I want you to know that I'm supporting you. And I think how you say it is sometimes more important than the exact words that you say. I never want people to be fearful of, like, oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing, and I'm going to, mess it up. It's like if they can tell that you care about them and you're coming from a good place, that's going to go really far with someone, just to let them know that you are there for them and it's okay to reach out.
Yeah.
So I think having those sorts of training that go into even more detail,
Mhm.
of that, the Vital Cog training goes through a practice scenario for it, and other trainings do as well. So I think the more that you can educate other people out in the field, in the office, this is kind of an issue everywhere in construction. It's not just one area. Letting them know how
Mhm.
they could talk to someone, I think, is beneficial to be part of that solution. And then they can spot things and talk to people. And part of it then is, well, what resources do you point them to? Like, what are the resources that when you're trying to talk to someone, say, like, have you heard of the EAP or have you heard of 988? Like, let's call that number together and get connected to resources, because there are resources out there, but if your employees don't know what they are, then that's another thing. Like, you have to make sure to move from awareness to solution, that that you have the resources and that you know what the resources are and you can promote those and communicate those. So like the 988 number, that's free. That's national. That's
Mhm.
24/7 Lifeline. I think still some people we run into don't know about it, which is surprising to me because it's been out for several years. But if you don't know about it, then who know? Like, you don't know
Yeah.
who to call. But for a crisis, that's a great one. Even if you're not in crisis and you just are going through something emotional that you need some support, people can call 988 to talk to a trained counselor. So that's a good one to promote. There's also employee assistance programs, and I know not every organization necessarily has that, but a lot do, or depending on the union that you're connected to, they would have an EAP, and that's trained counselors that oftentimes companies will pay for a set number of sessions. For us at Houck, we have that, and we actually improved the benefit. So we took a look and see, like, how many sessions do we have? Let's pay a little more and get more sessions for folks, to make sure that them and their families, because it's for families too, they can have, time to talk to a counselor. And it's not just about mental health. You could be grieving someone's loss and, want to talk to someone about that grief. It could be financial struggles. It's not always just mental health, but it's a good
Mhm.
support system. So I think having those resources, having health insurance for employees so they can talk to medical providers too, like having some of those resources available is important. And then just making sure that people actually know about them and can use them. And the more that we have awareness and the more we talk about it, I think that destigmatizes a little bit and makes it okay to reach out to some of those resources. I know there's other groups too, to get back to the initial question of like, what are the solutions? There's other groups that are working on this even more to try to figure out like what can you do? What free resources can we provide to companies? So at Construction Suicide Prevention Week, we have toolbox talks, we have stand downs, there's webinars that we provide so construction companies can go and learn from other people. CIASP is creating a pathway, which will be a guide for construction companies to know how to kind of build a program around suicide prevention, looking at, what is your EAP? What are the resources? What is your crisis support system if something does happen? What is the training you provide? Like, what are the action items that you can take to support employees? So there's so many groups that are working on some of these things to provide. But I always think too, like, as a construction company, when we look at the risk factors in general around suicide and why construction is the way it is, as an industry, I should say, like, how can we mitigate some of those? And some of them, I don't know if we can entirely, like weather. Like, when you think about the weather and how that impacts someone's paycheck if they're laid off and the financial strain that comes with it, like, we can't control the weather, but can we build in support processes to better help with that? Like, we do some online training. So if it's a rain day, people can get paid for online training. It's not, a full amount that's going to,
Mhm.
depending on how much it rains, help them. But that is something that you can do. When you look at schedules, if you have someone who is traveling really far and they're away from their friends and their family, that can be a risk factor for someone. Like, how can we look at the travel schedule or the schedule in general so there's not as many long hours? I know, again, some of it we can't control and we have to get projects done. There's a balancing act, but I think we should think about some of those deeper to figure out what can we change for our own
Mhm.
company that can help support employees. There's probably more, but those are some thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's a
So,
hell of a list.
yeah. So
Whoa.
you mentioned CIASP, the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention. You mentioned them and the pathways. Is there
Yeah.
anything else related to them that they're working on, or anything you want to mention? Because
Yeah.
I know it's a group you work with and you're passionate
Yes.
about.
Yeah, they're a great nonprofit organization that has, if you go to their website and just search for Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention, they have free toolbox talks on their website that you can use. So I mentioned about kind of integrating it into safety. You can use their free toolbox talks. They have a free mental health screening that you could link to. I actually just promoted this to our employees at Houck for Mental Health Awareness Month, that you can take this online screening to kind of do a self check for yourself to say, like, how is my mental health doing? Like, am I struggling? Could I use support? And so they have a free online tool that you can promote to your employees. They have free training for Living Works, and I think it's up to 5 employees can go through it. So if you have 5 employees at your company that you want to learn more about suicide prevention, you could have them do the Living Works training through CIASP. And they have an assessment that you can kind of gut check where you are as a company for things. And then that pathway that I mentioned is in progress. We're working on creating it right now. And that's really meant to be a landing page and kind of a one-stop shop for construction companies to go and say, okay, I want to do something about this. Where do I start? What do I do? Because there are just so many resources out there, and it can be overwhelming to know what is out there, what do I do, when do I do it, who does it. So we are making that pathway to try to make it easier for construction companies to do something about it.
Very
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Also one more thing. For me, I don't know what Chris has going on upside his head. I don't know what's going on over there. He's
Not a
cooking
lot,
something
I can
over
tell
there.
you.
No, but mutual friend of ours, Josh
Yeah,
Vital.
Vitaly. Yeah,
He created the Built Foundation. Is that correct?
yeah. Project Built.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
how's that going? Because
I think
I'm
it's
waiting on
going
it.
well. Yeah, we I think have a meeting next week. So we just launched that. I'm on the founding member council of that. Josh is a friend of mine, and he's actually the chair of Construction Suicide Prevention Week when I'm the vice chair. So we work very closely together for that. And Josh is working on this Project Built Foundation that's really trying to get down to the root of what does wellness mean? Like, what does well mean in construction? So we have all these resources, we're doing all this great work, but getting down to it, like, what are we aiming for? What does it look like when someone is well? What are we striving for as an industry? And really focusing too on the family aspect of it and supporting families of construction companies. So he's at the beginning stages of this, trying to define and work together, but he's pulled a great group of people together for it, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And you can search for Project Built online and see his website and learn more about that, but more to come from him for sure.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Josh is a great guy.
Yeah, he is.
So Kara, I don't know how to ask this, so I'm just going to say
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
We have all of these amazing organizations, amazing groups, people like yourself that are true. I mean, just listening to you talk, I mean, if you can't get the passion and the desire that you have for this, then clearly you are not listening. So, but on the other side of this, what are some of the results that we're starting to see? Like again, we've raised awareness. Now we're kind of moving into this solution side of it. But are we really seeing solutions with all of these efforts? And are we making, are we winning the war, I guess, is kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah, and it's a good question. It's one that I can answer slightly, but not completely, because I think we have anecdotally and just like my gut feel of seeing people talk about it and reach out for help. I
Right.
think, at least in my world and the people I interact with, it has made a difference and it has, made a change. But when you think whole scale of looking at everything, the suicide data is so far behind just the way that they pull the
Mhm.
data. So the suicide numbers have been increasing the last few years, but we don't have, you know, 2023, 2024 data. We don't even have that. So it's kind of delayed to know, like, all this work that we're doing now. We can't see what the overall suicide data is nationally to see, like, did it actually make a difference? And it's always so when I worked in healthcare, we tried to look at the data too, and suicide is really hard to think about when you think about like, did you really save someone's life? Like you don't know
Yeah.
all the people that you saved, so you know how many people died, and you want that number obviously to go down because our goal is to save lives, but you also just don't know all the people that may be listening to this podcast one day and say, you know what, oh, I do need some support. I'm going to reach out for help. You never know that you saved
Yeah.
that person, so it's kind of squishy to know like how many people you really helped. But I think as we look nationally at the data, we can kind of see, is there any kind of change? But we're so far behind on that data, it's hard to know. I know with the opioid data, that did drop a little bit from
Yep.
the last time it came out, but I mean, those numbers are still just so high. So it's like we have so
Yeah.
much work
Yeah.
to continue to do, both with suicide and opioids. And the data too is kind of mixed up because you don't, especially when you think about those two, which was it? Like, you don't know if it was accidental, you don't
Right.
know if it was on like, so some of that is just, you can't tell for sure. So I think thinking back to 15 years ago in construction and no one talking about it to now, I think we're definitely talking about it more. And I would hope that by having these conversations and having these resources, if construction companies are doing some of these things, they are helping people. You just might not necessarily know who it is that you're helping. One piece of data that I can share that I do think is representative of people getting the help that they need is with our EAP program at Houck. We did a look at the data to say before, 2 years ago, before we started promoting it, we had it, but no, we didn't talk about it. How many
Yeah.
people were using it? And it was like a half a person. I know that doesn't make sense for a half a person, but the average, And then when
Yeah.
we started promoting it, just like 3 or 4 months in, there were 3 people using it, a month. And
Yeah.
so it has increased. And I just recently got some employee testimonials from people who have used it, anonymous, feedback from people just to say like, hey, I did use it. It was really helpful. So people are using that resource. And I think that means those people are connected to support that they need, that they wouldn't have otherwise been connected to. And who knows what kind of struggles they might have had. And so I think people are getting more connected to help in that way that I've seen, at least at my family company. So I'm hopeful, but I still think there's a lot of work to be done.
Well, I think you illustrate the upward battle, if you will, that is still there. I mean, I liked what you said. From a half a person to 3 people, that is progress. And I know all the people that we've spoken to and that you both have mentioned in this call, plus so many more, that all would say the same thing. It's incremental, but it's one other person. One person is better than
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And so I agree with that. And I thank you for answering that. And more importantly, thank you for joining us today, Kara. This has been very, very helpful, very eye-opening in terms of all of the opportunities that are out there for people to seek help. And I thank you for everything that you're doing for the industry as well. I'll put words in John's mouth as well and say thank you from the Building PA podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Of course. I'm so thankful to do this work and just be a part of these initiatives. I remember when I rejoined the construction industry and I saw that there were these other people that were working on it. I mean, I had no idea when I came back that other people cared about this. And so to be connected to others who do care about this and want to do this work, I just feel so lucky. Especially, with all the different groups, with KCA, with Construction Suicide Prevention Week, CISP, others. I'm just so thankful to do the work along great people who also care so much.
It's a great industry. We're glad you're
Yes,
in
it
it.
is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Yes,
you.
it is. Well, thanks, Kara.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining the Building PA podcast. To stay up to date, follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and visit buildingpapodcast.com to subscribe to upcoming shows. Thanks for listening.